Well, good afternoon, everyone, or good morning for our friends over in the El Paso area. My name is Jacinto Ramos Jr. I work with Leadership ISD as the Chief of Governance and also the President of the Mexican American School Boards Association. It is good to have all of you with us today for our continued conversations on the impact of COVID-19 and what we're calling governance in crisis. This began with a conversation for trustees and superintendents as to how to deal with an unprecedented situation. And I myself had no idea what to do. So I just thought I'd just start reaching out and visiting with individuals who are a lot smarter than myself. And since then, we have partnered with not only MASBA, but with also with the Black Caucus. And we've been having real conversations. It's not only what we've called going from safe spaces to brave spaces, but even now what we call braver spaces. So unapologetically talking about the equity gaps that have risen for many that have expressed on these calls of what they know has been there, and now has been topics for us to know how to address. So I do want to point to you over on the right side of your screen is probably a question box. It's an opportunity for you to be able to ask questions. And for today, as you've probably seen, today is an exciting day because we're going to get to hear from young people, from the students, and those that that we are here to serve and help. So the questions that we're going to ask from you are for you to learn how to engage in authentic conversations with young people versus asking the students questions directly. And to help us today, we have our friend from Leadership ISD, which is Jono, and he is someone who brings a wealth of talent and skill sets on how to engage student voices and bring those to the forefront. So it's my pleasure to now introduce Jono Oberly, who will take us from here.
Awesome. Thank you, Cinto. Can you hear me? Just a quick sound check.
Good to go.
All right, cool. Well, to those of you who are all already on the call, I'm super excited to be here. Like Cinto said, my name is Jono, and I happen to be the Director of Student Voices at Leadership ISD. I came to the education world by way of Teach for America in 2013 in Dallas-Fort Worth, and have had the pleasure of working with students from across the Dallas ISD on a number of different projects. The one that we are working on right now, and the one I'm most excited to share with you, is helping coach educators and administrators and school board members and superintendents on how to authentically engage students in the process of co-creating their learning environment. When I first came to education, I recognized right away that I did not look like the students that I was teaching, and I certainly didn't share their backgrounds. And so that challenge for me became an opportunity to learn how to authentically engage with my students by way of making sure that I was encouraging them to develop agency, belonging, and capacity. And so today, Trustee Garcia and Trustee Ramos asked me to come and help facilitate a conversation with students. And rather than have that be just an opportunity for all of you to ask students from a variety of different areas a whole bunch of different questions about a whole bunch of different things, we decided that that might be an excellent opportunity to demonstrate what it looks like to authentically engage our students in conversations about what their daily experiences are like, and then hopefully how to use that to make better decisions for ourselves. So before I introduce our student panelists, I want to direct you to a handout that should be available to you on the right side of your screen. It's called Honest and Open Questions for the student experience. And I would encourage you to have that open on your screen so you can follow along with us. The protocol that we're going to use today to talk to our students is one that we've been working on that hopefully ought to help our adults, in particular adults in positions of power, authentically engage with students in a way that allows students' voices to be heard and allows those adults to come away with really concrete and tangible next steps that they're going to take from their positions of power. So with that, I would love to take this as an opportunity to introduce our panelists for the day. We have 2 trustees and 4 students. So trustees and students, I'm going to ask you to come on the screen, say your name, the school district you're representing today, and then our quick icebreaker question for you is, if you could only eat one dessert for the rest of your life, what would that dessert be? Here we go. All right, Trustee Griffin, why don't you start us off?
Linda Griffin, trustee from the Garland Independent School District. My one dessert would be a pound cake.
Awesome, thank you. Trustee Garcia.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning to some of you. Carla Garcia from Dallas Independent School District, and the one dessert would probably be chocoflan.
Very nice. Who do we have next? How about Serenity?
All right, hello everybody. My name is Serenity Drake, and I'm representing Garland ISD. And a dessert that I can live without is strawberry shortcake.
Awesome, Will.
Hello everyone, I'm Will Burnett. I'm representing Garland ISD, and a dessert that I would want to have would be pound cake as well.
Awesome, you and Trustee Griffin are going to be splitting it. Alexis.
Hello everyone, my name is Alexis Martinez, and I'm a senior from Dallas Independent School District, and my dessert of choice would probably be a fruit bowl.
A fruit bowl. Awesome. He's getting a little healthy on us. Give a specific fruit that has to be in there, Alexis, no matter what.
Sure.
All right, Maria.
Hello, everyone. I am Maria Hernandez. I'm representing Dallas ISD, and a dessert will be cheesecake.
Cheesecake. A specific flavor or just a classic, like New York?
Just a classic.
Cheesecake. All right, very nice. Well, thanks, y'all, for joining us today. We're really excited to hear about a couple of different things. One, we're going to talk about the experience that you've had over the past couple months transitioning to distance learning. And then two, a little bit later in the call, we're going to hear about your thoughts on the way that you think adults ought to engage with students in order to improve their educational environments. My job today is going to be to do two things. One is to make sure that you feel like you're supported during this conversation. And then two, I'm going to help keep us on track with our honest and open questions protocol. So participants, if you're following along with me, this is going to be a time when I'm going to first open the space and encourage our young people that this is an opportunity for them to be heard authentically and that they can share their experience, good, bad, or indifferent. And then secondly, students, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to tell you that I want to acknowledge that a lot of times when adults speak with students, they do it in a way that doesn't necessarily honor and respect your experiences. And so there are a couple of things I want to promise you. One is that I want to promise you that adults on this call today are going to approach you with curiosity first, and that any of the experiences you share with us today are first and foremost going to be acknowledged and affirmed, right? Because they're your lived experiences, nobody can argue with them. And then our job is to take those experiences and make really good decisions afterwards. Thumbs up or nods if you are cool with that. All right, very nice. So, oh my goodness, there are lots of dogs in my house. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to ask our trustee participants to open with some of their honest and open questions. Students, you guys are going to get to respond in turn. So if you have an answer to one of these questions, feel free to jump in. And trustees, something that I'm going to ask is that after you ask your question, allow a student to complete their answer. And over the course of this questioning period, our goal is to first and foremost approach with curiosity, and then second is not to respond. So we're not responding to students, we're not asking them to like qualify their responses, and we're certainly not trying to solve or otherwise mitigate the challenges that they're talking about. A lot of times when adults hear about student challenges, they say, oh, well, have you tried this? Or, oh, have you thought about maybe this? And this is an opportunity not to solve your challenges, but first and foremost, just to hear them and acknowledge that they've been heard. So Trustee Griffin or Trustee Garcia, I'm going to let you guys kick us off. And students, you guys can hop in where you see an opportunity.
Thank you, students, for spending some time with us. We're interested in learning some things about what you have experienced My question to you is, what was the impact of school closure to your academics?
The impact of school closure to my academics is we're all seniors here, and since I'm a senior, it just kind of had an impact emotionally on me because it was my senior year and I didn't get to a full experience of that, and everybody looks towards the opportunity.
For me, it kind of brought everything to a halt. As Serenity said, it kind of did ruin that end of the year experience for me as a senior, but more so I was just kind of at a point where I was lost. I didn't know how we were going to proceed with classes, if such and such class was going to continue with an actual virtual lesson, or how we were going to proceed. So towards the beginning, I was very lost as to what was the next step.
Yes, and as for me, I already had a couple of teachers that dropped off during the school year to where I had permanent substitutes. So turning in things online was difficult for me because I had different classrooms, and then they switched the classroom, so I was getting zeros for work that I was already doing. So it was affecting me a lot at first with my grades.
The impact they had on me, it was like stressing because I'm like, I gotta be in the class to learn. So it was like different and just having to close down everything. And then like all the AP classes I was taking, it would be difficult. And it was just like, just stressing and coming in.
Thank you. I think what I heard was emotional effect, our emotional impact, then just feeling lost, which is still emotional, but just a combination of things. Then also the combination to deal with having permanent subs already, so your teachers had changed, and then you go to distance learning, and just the deal of the whole atmosphere being different. So I think we can learn to look at all of those things that you all have said moving forward. Thank you.
Hi there, students. I really would like to know more about how this at-home learning differs for you compared to the experience in the classroom, but how you think it'll affect you moving forward.
It's different than being in the classroom because when you're in the class, you can always just ask a question and you can get a response like that. But with this, you have to email the teacher and you don't know when she'll be able to respond. You'll be checking your phone or email all day to see if she responded yet. Like some teachers, they get to it fast, but some teachers, it takes a really long time to get to them. By then, you don't even want to do the work anymore. You don't, it's lack of motivation at that time. Instead of you already being on the work and you get right to it after she responds to you in the classroom.
I would say that at-home learning is kind of a double-edged sword because there's definitely a lot more of flexibility as to deadlines and the amount of work, but being away from the classroom setting also takes away that motivation to do the work, because being at home, there's a lot more responsibilities, a lot more distractions, and it kind of just takes away the motivation to do the work, and it doesn't allow me to focus as much as I would like to.
I agree with what Alexis and Will said. They really said it all. It just takes away from the focus and motivation. Like I'm usually on top of my stuff, and also with the asking teachers questions. Sometimes I'm not comfortable with going up to teachers, but I eventually got comfortable with it. But like switching online, it's like different because we got the Google Hangouts, and it's just different of how we communicate with teachers. Some respond, some don't, and just trying to get questions about work. So my grades also took a change. They're not bad, but it also took a change because of my focus. So,
Yeah, like they all said, like it's just the focus that you lose. Like for me, not having like teachers to give us work, but they'll still fail you. Like it's different since they're not doing us any good. Like especially if it's AP classes, like I haven't had no work So it's just like I'm not even worried about it no more. Like I just want it to end sometimes.
Can you guys talk a little bit more about motivation? All four of you mentioned this word, like motivation. Talk to us a little bit about that.
One thing I would say about the motivation is when we're in class, we have teachers there like pushing us and like making sure we're doing our work. Like if we're just sitting on our phone, they'll come over and be like, start doing your work or something. When it's online, we don't have nobody here pushing us to do our work or, constantly getting on us. So it's our responsibility to get our work turned in on time and all that. So we don't have that person to help. We have to depend on ourselves. So that's one thing I would say with motivation.
Yes, also when you get like 6 assignments in one day, you're not gonna get that during school. So you know that's not gonna be due like anytime soon. So it's like, okay, let me do this in a couple of days. And because you know that that wouldn't happen in school too. So you just do it like how you would get it in school. Like in school, you're gonna get like maybe 1, 2 assignments. You're gonna do it at that time in class, and you're gonna see all your other people doing it. So if they're doing it, you're gonna be doing it. This is all by yourself. So there's that.
Well, I think even from day one, from being a senior, senioritis hit that very same day, but it kind of hits a little bit differently since there isn't that teacher to kind of push you to do the assignment or to do things. But I think motivation kind of changes depending on what classes I have, because for some classes, I've noticed that the assignments given are simply just to get a grade. It's not about learning or it's not about understanding material. It's simply about getting a grade out of it. And some other classes, they're more focused on making sure that we're learning. So the motivation kind of varies based on, am I doing this to learn or am I doing this to simply get a grade out of
Yeah, like they were saying, like motivation for me was just like from some teachers who were like pushing me to do better and stuff. And now that I'm at home, like I don't even like get a text from a teacher or like simple things that we don't even do in class. Like I don't even know what's going on. So
Yes, when you don't know what's going on, you go to Google Classroom, there's this whole long list of stuff that you're about to do, and you don't understand it, then you're just like, uh, then just like, when am I don't understand this, so how am I gonna do it? And you try to like put it back, but you still have to get it done eventually. And that's the lack of motivation right there. Like in class, your friend will be doing it and you'll be like, so what exactly are we supposed to do? And then they'll know, they could tell you and you could just knock it out like that. This, you may not have the same friends that you had in your classes, so you can't ask them over the phone. So it's really the one-on-one through the teacher, and you never know when she's gonna respond. And the way she does, no, she's gonna have to break it down one by one, and you may not get it in the email. You may not understand what she's saying. So
Yeah, that sounds frustrating.
yes,
I'm interested in knowing, why do you think it is that the timelines and the rules kept changing with how we were to respond to this COVID-19?
I think it was heavily dependent on pretty much what every single person had to react with. And that's that we don't know how COVID is working yet. We're still about 3 months into it. We don't know how it affects as well. We really just don't have that much information about COVID. And I remember right after spring break, I heard that we were having a week extension of spring break. So I thought, hey, it's just another week. But then that time started adding. We started getting lockdowns. And so I kind of saw this snowball effect happen. And I kind of based that around just the fact that we really don't know that much about COVID even today.
I agree with what he said about we just don't know. We don't have that much information. And the timelines and rules kept changing because we're trying to make sure it benefits us all and doesn't hurt us all in what we're doing.
Students, can you tell me more about the impact that COVID has had on your plans after high school?
COVID has affected my plans after high school. It has its pros and cons, but it gave me more time to figure out where I would like to go for college. I was stuck for a second because, not having that help of that one-on-one with our counselors and them pushing us or helping us fill out applications, scholarships, all that stuff. So I was stuck for a moment, but it gave me more time to figure out what I want to do. So that's how it affected me.
It affected me because I needed more letters of recommendation for college scholarship applications. So that hurt me a little bit. And also, I was going to be in a summer program at Prairie View A&M University where I'm attending, to where I could get a few more college hours uh, from the school and start and get my whole entire first year out the way. But now I couldn't do that because the summer programs are closed. So that affected me a lot.
The impact for me kind of started right as COVID started. The week after spring break, I was supposed to hear about a very important scholarship in person, and I ended up hearing about it through an email instead, which isn't as exciting, but it's still a very relieving notice when you do find out. So I committed to Texas Christian University pretty much in March, and I should be excited about going because they did propose a date for August 24th as the first in-person instruction date. But now I'm worried that that might not happen with the way that COVID is going right now. And if that doesn't happen, that could be very, dangerous to my academics because the classroom setting is very important, especially in the transition to college. And I don't know how that would fare if I had to start my first semester of college at home.
Yeah, like Alex was saying, I had trouble with like understanding what college I was gonna go to since I want to be in the criminal justice program. So then I decided, and it's like I just got an email from my college advisor that we're probably not gonna start school in August. So it's like confusing since I'm gonna be a freshman in college. It's like so many things coming in, emotions and stuff. So yeah.
Can you talk a little more about telling us where you are now? Tell us about where you are now in terms of getting ready to finish your high school days and your curriculum there, and is all well with that?
Where
So
I'm
right now, this is, oh, go ahead.
No, you're good. You can go.
Oh, this is actually my last week as a senior. This Friday is the last day that I have assignments, so I'm really giving that final push this week. On top of AP exams, just today I actually went to go pick up my cap and gown, and I got to see myself for the first time in it. So I'm really at that deadline. I'm just giving it that final push, and I'm ready to end.
Yeah, I'm in the final stretch as well. I only have a few more assignments that I think will be due, and then I'm done. So I'm just trying to knock those out this week, and I think it'll all will be well.
I'm the same way. I have a few assignments that I'm just trying to knock out and finish strong. And it's like actually starting to hit me now that, I'm a senior, my senior year is from the end. So yeah, just doing that whole stretch and the whole realities.
Yeah, just finishing off and like trying to know like make your final decisions, know what you're gonna do next. That's like all I'm thinking about right now. So
And I'd like to follow up with those comments that you've made on, you've spoken about the impact of COVID on you and where you are now, but what about the impact of COVID on you, your family, and even your local community? What has changed? What looks different for you?
What looks different for me is I notice I'm spending more time with my family, like more family bonding, but also at the same time, we're also getting on each other's nerves because we're all in here. So it's like a balance. I noticed that. And then it's just, I feel like it's not going to be the same when we go out because everybody has to wear their masks and gloves. So it's just the economy and the community is gonna look real different. Like I don't feel like it's gonna be the same.
Yes, I'm spending a lot more time with my mom because she's a teacher. So we get on each other's nerves a little bit. And also my grandmother my grandmother she's a little old in age, so she doesn't come out at all. She stays in the house all day. So we can't really see her like that. She was supposed to come down for the graduation, but she's not going to do that anymore. Uh I'm having like a drive-by graduation celebration, and she can't even come to that because she just doesn't want to go outside, and I understand why. So it's just having a little effect on my family.
Um, for me, I've actually been very fortunate. My father has had a steady job. He's actually been working a little bit overtime because he is considered an essential worker. So we still have food on the table. We still have a roof over our heads. So we're very fortunate with that. I am, and I was a very introverted person. So school or not, I would be at home either way. I'm just taking advantage of the time to kind of help my mom out with the chores, with cooking, and doing whatever I can around the house. But I think the biggest change was the community. For a long time, it was brought to a halt. My father would be very happy because on his commutes to work, he would say that the highway was completely free and that he didn't have to drive at 30 miles an hour. But it feels different going out into the community and seeing everybody in a face mask. It's just that things are kind of normal, but at the same time that they're not.
Yeah, like he was saying, the impact I had was like I began to value my family more, spend more time with my younger siblings. So I would like do extra activities with them and like spending that quality time with my mom, my dad, and my older brother go to work. So that's like helpful for us. And like my community, we usually like we'll always go outside and say hi to each other. Now we go outside and like nobody's outside, so it's like different, like coming into well, where are they at and stuff. So it's just like all that coming to realize that people are just scared and it's changing.
So when listening to what things have changed, how would you react if the county and some of the schools open next week or the deadline of the end of May? What would that do for your reaction and for your emotions?
For me, I feel like I'd be like very surprised, and I would feel like they're opening it up too quick. Like it's not right timing because everything is still unknown of like how it's reaching people, and people still have it even though they are being cured. So I would be very unsure about it, and then the school setting would be really different. So it'd be really no point. Like everything would have to change. It would just cause a lot of more stress on top of everything else that's going on right now. And then another part, I feel like I'd be, now I don't know if I'd be happy, but I'm just thinking about the actual graduation. Like it would be moved up instead of how it's moved back right now. Like everything would be, the dates would be back to normal, but it wouldn't be safe.
Yeah. Um, Definitely wouldn't go out right away until like June, July, because the damage is already done. You know the effects, but it'll be nice that we just go to normal places now. But I'll definitely still take precautions.
I would feel both concerned and a little betrayed because since this is my last week of senior, if the school were to open back up next week, for one, I'd be concerned for people like my younger brother who are in the 7th grade and they would still have to push through school to about June, and about their safety, about everyone's safety for the most part, because we still have like a high infection rate in the United States. And, as a senior, that would kind of hit me in the gut, knowing that school opened right after I finished out.
Yeah, like they said, it's too soon to like go back, and especially like if we're barely like, well, some of us try and get like used to online learning, and then we have to go back to school. It would be like so different, especially like if we're seniors. Like, whoa, really?
And students, on that same line of questioning almost too, I'm curious to know, who did you look to for comfort or for peace or for motivation when we had to drastically switch to at-home learning?
I really just look towards like my friends because we were all going through the same thing. So just get on the phone with them, talk about it, talk with them.
I kind of had to look into myself for that reassurance because, you know, everything did come to a halt, but I knew there was still something to be done. You know, I'm still a senior, even though I'm at home, and I still have that responsibility to finish out equally as strong as I started. So I kind of really had to look into myself to kind of reflect, really, you know, and say there's going to be an after, you know, and there's a responsibility now to do the same thing that I've always been doing.
I was gonna say the same thing as he did about looking into myself, not to rely on myself. And I did have family and friends because we're all going through this. It's not just affecting me. But like he said, it gave me time to reflect, and it gave me like a little taste of what life would be like after high school. So yeah, it just gave me time to reflect.
Yeah, I like my best friend who I feel like she has a bigger effect towards this, and like to when some of my teachers who actually like talk to me, so that was like getting their point of view, their perspective was like trying to help me right now.
Can you tell me more about distance learning moving forward?
I have a
Like
little bit
how
of a
to
follow-up to that, y'all. Is that okay? So we have a whole bunch of folks on the call who make decisions at various levels in districts all across the state. And next year, chances are schools are going to have to use some form of distance learning at least some part of the year. So imagine that you have the power to like make decisions for a school district. What types of decisions would you be making, or what questions do you think these decision makers should be asking students so they can figure out how things are going?
Well, I would definitely ask students first and foremost with at-home learning the very simple question of, are you actually learning? And I would, if I were to kind of have an influence on how this would work out next year, I would definitely make sure that teachers focused very much more on the purpose of the material that they're assigning and the purpose of the classes that they're hosting, so that we can make sure that students don't feel like they're simply completing busy work.
Mm.
Okay, you guys are all nodding your heads. Tell me more about busy work. What is it?
about
How
busy
can you
work?
tell?
Say it again.
You are already headed in the right direction, Serenity. You go.
Okay. Busy work. I would just say I feel like they was just giving us like loads of work to fill in the time, and that's why the whole thing about how they limit us to 2 assignments like for each class, even though that was still a lot, because all the teachers had either like the same deadline, like you could do Friday or later that night, and so just it was just really a lot of work, and it was just like trying to figure out the answers, and you don't really have your classmates to help you anymore. And so I just feel like it was just turning it in. I personally wasn't really learning. I was just trying to make sure my work was getting turned in, because then they started putting zeros in for the grades, and I was affecting the grades. So I was just trying to get stuff turned in instead of really actually learning the material.
Yes, I think it would be better if like teachers could take like a video of a lesson of themselves actually teaching the material, and then give it to us to where the students, they can just rewind the video and just take notes over it so they actually learn something and then get the work.
Yeah, like he was saying, the video will work a lot. Like for me, I'd rather like get the steps down than just trying to like find a way to solve it quick. Like I feel like online learning should like be like not extended work wise, but like teachers actually trying to help you like do a video call on Friday and like try to show you what was really the point of the week and stuff. So I feel like that will help a lot.
I can imagine having a whole lot of busy work would be pretty frustrating. How can you tell the difference between something that is busy work and something that is in your estimation like valuable to your time?
To me, the biggest giveaway was the length of the assignment. Because if I compare it, for example, to work I would get throughout the school year normally, and if the assignment looks way longer, I kind of get a sense of how the teacher has changed the workload. And because I know my teachers, I know how they assign things, how they grade things. And so you can kind of see that shift when there's a lot more work as opposed to a little bit, because a little bit of work given throughout the week, or even like say a little bit of work just for the week, is a lot more manageable for me. And it makes me feel like I should focus a lot more on those little few things, as opposed to when I get those big assignments, I just feel like I'm trying to complete it before the deadline. So the biggest giveaway for that, I would say for sure, is the length of assignments.
Yes, hit it right there on the head. Like you could tell what all the times in classes on the work you would get from each class, like how much you're gonna get right here, and the one time how much you're gonna get right here. So when you just get a whole load of work from one teacher, it's like this is out of character. You know it's busy work.
Yeah, I can hear that.
Now that you're mentioning these and how you get a sense of what's working for you, I'm really curious to know what we're not understanding about what you're going through right now in your senior year. What are we not understanding about what you're going through and how this is having an impact on your educational journey?
I feel like people are not understanding. Like they do say that they're sorry for us and they feel for the senior class, but I just feel like since everybody else like before us had their senior year, had prom, had graduation, had all the senior activities, they don't really feel how we feel because we didn't get that at all. We missed it. So I just feel like, yeah, they're trying to be there for us and like we all appreciate it, but they don't really feel and see where we're coming from. And just missing out on that really means a lot because this is a big year. And then also academic wise, it's really stressful. Like it's really stressful. So trying to deal with that on top of other stuff, it's just a lot going on. So I just feel like no one's really gonna understand.
It's like academically, you really like by this time of the school year, it's already second semester. You're really not motivated to do any type of work, and you only have a couple months left. You're trying to get it over with already in class. You had a good routine going, and it all starts over again. You have to do something else, and then this affects you for the rest of your life. You're not gonna be able to go to prom. Your kid's gonna be like, "Why don't you have any prom pictures and graduation?" Your whole family can't come. You're probably gonna get maybe 3, 4 people besides your parents to come. And not everybody's gonna get to share that experience with you. A lot of plans are detoured, graduation parties, none of that. So it's just a big impact on your entire life.
I'm kind of glad that Will brought up academics, because I think that the biggest thing that teachers and staff are missing about students is that, yes, we're at home and there's certain liberties that we have at the house, but just because we're at the house doesn't mean we live and breathe on schoolwork as we would normally. and especially not on those same time frames. You know, there's more responsibilities at home. Some people are working. So I think the biggest thing that people are missing is that, yes, we're at home and it might seem like maybe we have a lot of free time, but that doesn't mean you should fill that free time with a lot for us to do.
Yeah, like they all said, academic wise, I feel like our last like few weeks was just going to be us making our last memories with friends. Now it's just like the teacher just filling us with work that I feel like we don't need it. I feel like they should actually like try to give us something that we actually need. Like a teacher was like, y'all have a lot of time. And I was like, no, we don't. Like teachers just giving us work like just to finish the year off right. And it's not making it feel right since we are like all lost, we don't know what's going on. We just wanna sit down, actually talk to someone, be with friends, make memories. And people say they get you, but they really don't since they don't know what's like really happening inside of you.
Thanks for sharing that, Maria. And thanks to all y'all for sharing. Really appreciate those thoughts on those questions. We are about 18 minutes from having to say goodbye to folks. And so I want to move us to the next section of our protocol, right? So remember I talked about we're going to give our trustees an opportunity to say out loud what they are taking, what they heard you say essentially. So trustees, I'm going to ask you to synthesize one thing that you heard by using that sentence stem, like what I heard you say was, or you can generalize as well. You can say it sounds like students need, or it sounds like teachers need, or it sounds like we should think more about. And then students, as the trustees synthesize, you listen and make sure that they're getting it right. Make sure the takeaways that they're taking away are actually what you said. So Trustee Griffin, what are you taking away?
Students, I think I heard you say, with this distance learning, we did not understand how to deliver important assignments, if that's the length of assignments, if that's the factual information of the assignment, that we didn't understand that because we don't understand the time that you have at home, and we made some assumptions that all you were going to do while you were home was to do basically schoolwork.
I'm seeing some nods. Anybody have any clarification for Ms. Griffin, or does that sum it up?
That sounds good.
All right, Trustee Garcia, what are you taking away?
Just about everything that Trustee Griffin shared, but what I also heard was that this is a very difficult experience for you emotionally, that and what I also think I heard was that you need the support of other people in a meaningful way, not just for a show of support.
Okay, excellent. Students, does that sound just about right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So Trustee Garcia, based on this conversation, the last part of this protocol is to say, what are you going to go do now? So based on your new insights on students' emotional needs, what's your next step? Who do you want to talk to next at your district level to start digging more into that?
If the future of our districts is at home learning for any set period of time, and for Dallas ISD, we're not having in-person summer classes, I really want to focus on this piece of motivation that each of you touched on, especially for our younger students whom are asked to make choices and be responsible in a way that, as you currently as young adults, have more agency over. So I would like to extend the conversation in my district around the way that our educators are considering the needs and the responsibilities of students at home while they're being asked to have grades for the semester. So that's my next conversation.
Awesome. Thanks, Trustee Garcia. Trustee Griffin, what's your next step?
My next conversation with my fellow board members is just to try to evaluate everything that has gone on with our students and ask us to be a little more understanding, a little more visionary in looking at the effects of what we roll out, and that we're educating the whole child and not just that part of the child that's academic. So when we roll out distance learning, at home learning, whatever we want to call it, moving forward, we must have support for academics. We must have to have support for emotion, for socialization, and then we have to have support for our athletes and everyone else that's in extracurricular activities.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So students, now I want to ask you to zoom out for a second, right? Thank you for participating in that conversation. Can I ask you to talk a little bit about how the structure that we use today, this protocol, how that is different than other conversations you've had with adults in the past? And what does that mean to you?
Well, I feel that this environment with having all the participants and the panelists, it gives a feeling that I don't always feel talking to adults. And it goes back to the saying of maybe people will hear you, but they won't listen to you. And I definitely feel that here I'm being listened to, because this is the first time that I actually get to voice my concerns. You know, I've had these feelings since the at-home learning has occurred, and I've shared those feelings with my friends. And I know that if I express that with, say, my teachers, it wouldn't come out the right way. But being here in this environment and talking to people, talking to adults, it definitely feels like I have an environment where I can share what's going wrong with at-home learning.
I agree with what he said about the teachers, that this actually helped with getting our point across. I actually feel like I was heard, and this is not my first time doing anything like this, and I like really appreciate the opportunity. And so I just feel like it was really heard, and also that to see what they're gonna do, I feel like they heard us and that they're actually gonna move forward and actually do what they said they're gonna do. So that if we continue with e-learning, that it looks better for other people. And yeah.
How is this different? What made this environment different than other conversations that you typically have with adults?
Well, for me, what was different was that, like, when I talked to like adults and like especially in this time, and I talked to them and I told them what's going on, they just try to like give me what they feel like is right, and they're not like listening to me or stuff like that. Like, I feel like it was different since I was able to just talk and hear like other perspectives also, and then they were just listening to us and like trying to get the main point of us trying to send our voice out there.
Yes, other times I'll talk to adults, they'll tell me what I need to be doing when I tell them my problems, instead of just listening and trying to find a better solution.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think, and this is going to be my last question because I want to leave some time to close it out here, but what do you think would be different about school environments if students were routinely engaged with in this way, in this way where adults are using open curiosity to talk to you about your experiences? How would things be different?
I feel like things would be different by, there will be different actions. I think students will really like this because they'll feel like their voice is being heard, and it would just help solve a lot of problems. So that's how it'll be different. It'll just be a different way of doing things.
I think,
Yes,
especially with the,
I was just gonna say I think it'll be a better learning environment for the students because we get to voice our opinions, and it could cater more to us.
Yeah, Alexis,
I was
you got
gonna
something to add
say
there?
regarding the formatting. Yes, regarding the formatting, I definitely feel that with this, I feel that if, for example, I spoke to a teacher and then they were to follow up with what they think I was saying, I would get a better sense of making sure that the teacher is actually kind of on that level with me. Because if this was reflected in the classroom, they could get a sense of, are my students understanding? And from the classes that I do have that are virtual, I think that the biggest concern that teachers have is that they can't see our faces, so they can't, you know, see expressions or see if we're truly understanding what's going on during the class.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. I want to tell you that I really appreciate how frank and genuine and authentic you've been with us here today. And I want to tell you that it's a joy to get a chance to hang out with you. So thank you so much. Trustee Griffin, Trustee Garcia, thank you to you guys for taking a leap and maybe engaging in a way that is not typical. Thanks for allowing me to put like some rigid rules in place about how we're going to interact. Before we go, Trustee Griffin, Trustee Garcia, what did you think about this process? How did it feel to engage students like this? Was it challenging? And what do you think is different than the way that you normally engage students?
For me, it was more structured. And with the structured approach, it required you to listen more and listen attentively. So when you're listening, you're also hearing. So I appreciated the opportunity to participate in the panel today. Thank you, students.
Trustee Griffin, you've got all the right words.
Sorry.
Along with being forced in this environment to really attentively listen, I think too, it's the reason why I suggested that we have a panel of students was because we're making decisions as trustee and superintendents, and yet we hear the least from the student. We are hearing the least from the end user. So for example, the things that you brought up about at-home learning and the impacts on motivation and how you understand what's for the sake of doing and what's actually doing something good for you, we wouldn't have heard those things otherwise. And right now, we're not able to physically get together and have these conversations, but we do have a platform like this where we can talk to students from Garland and Dallas and other places. So hearing you is exactly what is the ignition that we need to go back and get this right, because it's like you, there are thousands of seniors across the states from all across Texas and all across this country, and we need to get it right. And we're not, is what we're hearing. So there's a lot of work to do, but we need to hear it from you. And I really appreciate your vulnerability in this moment and the opportunity to engage with you in this manner.
All right, y'all. So I'm going to give you one last thanks, and you can't see me, but I'm clapping. That's what the sound is. So I'm applauding you. Thanks for hanging out with us. I'm going to ask you guys to shut off your cameras so that Trustee President Jacinto Ramos Jr. can come back and close us out with some wise words and a sneak preview of what's coming on our next MOSBA call. So those of you who are here still, thank you for allowing me to come and take the last hour of your time. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome. Jono, thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing your gift with us and throughout the state of Texas. I've asked my friend and colleague, my hermano Ty G. Jones, to join as well. Ty, what do you think about listening to the young people and watching some of our friends and colleagues interact with them?
Hey, good afternoon. I enjoyed it. It was very fulfilling to listen to the vantage points of the students, really get their perspective. I think that's what we definitely have to incorporate into our planning processes moving forward, because anything and all the decisions that we're making are impacting them. And just to hear, one of the key points I got is, are you actually learning? That was the question. And they were like, what's the purpose of the assignment? You know, and students are able to identify that the purpose is not what it was intended to do, but just to fill their time. We definitely have to articulate to our a better improve the outcomes that we're definitely seeking. I thank those students, thank our fellow trustees, Garcia and Griffin, for their participation in navigating these waters. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks. Thank you all for joining us again on this Monday afternoon, morning for those of our friends over in the El Paso area. Just again, a recap, a partnership between Leadership ISD, MASBA, and the Black Caucus. We've had Dr. Drew Howard from TEA. We've had Dr. Phil Gore from TASB. We've had friends from the Black Caucus speak on the inequities in our educational system. We had our friends that are researchers that were on with. And then next week, we're going to have a conversation about addressing the needs of the diverse student. So I think we're going to have an opportunity for the adults to be able to hopefully piggyback, or for those of you that don't eat any pork or veggie back on the conversation for next week.
I called Jackson. I'm trying to get off of this web.
Ms. Griffin's still on, so we'll see you all next week. We've got to be talking about next steps, not only for the summer, but we also want to be talking next steps for the fall and beyond. After all, I think I'll share with the young people, if you didn't know, school board trustees, we do this for free 99. We don't get paid a penny. We do it because we're all heart, we're all passion, and we're here to serve you. And thanks for the reminder about what we might be missing and those narratives and those voices that are ever so important. And again, I want to give a special shout out to Trustee Garcia over in Dallas ISD for reminding us that student voices is probably the most important voice as we move through this process. My friends, we'll see you all next week. Everybody take care, and we'll see you soon.